Welcome, high-value men. Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortably familiar. Have you ever poured your heart and soul into someone, only to feel like you didn't even matter? Maybe you gave them your time, your affection, pieces of your very identity, only to be met with silence or worse, indifference. You thought staying close would keep them from slipping away, but instead, you found yourself slipping into self-doubt. Sound familiar? Now imagine this. One day, you decide to stop. You step back, not out of spite or manipulation, but because you finally realize your worth. And then something strange happens. The silence you thought would consume you, it starts working in your favor. Suddenly, the person who once took you for granted begins to notice the void. They reach out, seemingly out of nowhere, questioning everything. This isn't magic, it's psychology. The no-contact rule isn't about playing games or waiting for miracles. It's about reclaiming your power and shifting the dynamics of the relationship. When you pull away, you force them to see what life without you really means. Your absence becomes the loudest statement you'll ever make, far stronger than any words you could say. But let's be real, this isn't easy. Fear creeps in. It whispers lies in your ear. They've moved on, they've forgotten you, you're wasting time. That fear, if unchecked, can paralyze you. It can make you question whether the no-contact rule is even worth it. But here's the truth. Fear is nothing more than a phantom, and the moment you face it, it loses its grip. Today, we're diving into 7 undeniable signs that prove the no-contact rule is working. These aren't vague hopes or guesses. They're rooted in psychology and human behavior. By the end of this video, you'll recognize these signs for what they are. Proof that your absence isn't just felt, it's transforming how they see you. More importantly, you'll understand that the real power of no contact isn't about them at all. It's about you. So, if you're ready for a conversation that cuts through the noise, stick around. And if you find this resonating, hit that like button and subscribe to the Stoic Golden Rule, where we dive deep into the insights that elevate not just your relationships, but your entire life. Ready to reclaim your worth? Let's dive into the 7 signs that prove the no-contact rule is working. Sign 1. They see you thriving without them. The first undeniable sign that the no-contact rule is working, they see you thriving and it hits them harder than you think. Let's be honest, when someone walks away, they assume you'll stay frozen in time, waiting for their return. They picture you sulking, struggling, or even obsessing over them. But the moment they realize that's not the case, their world shifts. Imagine this. They scroll through social media or hear from mutual friends, and instead of the heartbroken person they expected, they see someone vibrant and unstoppable. You're glowing, happier, more driven, and surrounded by people who uplift you. That image, it's like a jolt of electricity to their system. Suddenly, they're not the center of your world anymore, and that reality stings. But this isn't about playing games or trying to make them jealous. It's about reclaiming your life with unapologetic purpose. Every step you take towards self-improvement, whether it's hitting the gym, pursuing a passion you shelved, or simply smiling more, sends a powerful message. I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. Here's the psychology behind it. People are wired to value what they fear losing. When you're always available, your presence becomes routine, predictable, and easy to overlook. But when you step back and focus on yourself, scarcity kicks in. Your absence creates a void they can't ignore. It's like a favorite song they played on repeat until it faded into the background. Only now, it's gone, and they can't stop craving it. Let me share something personal. When I first embraced no contact, I didn't start out feeling strong. It was messy. I questioned myself daily, but instead of focusing on them, I turned my attention inward. I began working out, reconnecting with friends, and rediscovering hobbies that made me happy. Weeks later, I got a message. You seem different. What's going on? That wasn't just curiosity. It was regret disguised as interest. They saw the change, and it made them realize what they'd lost. But here's the catch. Thriving doesn't mean pretending. It's not about curating a highlight reel to impress them. True thriving comes from within, from building a life so full and rich that their absence becomes irrelevant. It's about progress, not perfection. Ask yourself, what parts of my life have I neglected because I was too focused on them? Maybe it's your health, your career, or even your social connections. Now's the time to reignite those areas. Dive into the passions you paused. Surround yourself with people who inspire and support you. Celebrate every win, no matter how small, because those victories aren't just for you. They're living proof that you're more than capable of thriving on your own. And here's the beautiful irony. The more you focus on yourself, the more magnetic you become. Your transformation isn't just noticed, it's felt. They start to wonder, how did I let someone like that slip away? And when that thought creeps in, the dynamic flips. Suddenly, you're no longer the one chasing, they are. So remember this, thriving isn't about revenge, it's about resurrection. You're not just bouncing back, you're rising stronger, brighter, and more unstoppable than ever. And that's the kind of glow no one can ignore. Sign 2. The fear of replacement. The second sign that no contact is working, they start feeling the sharp sting of being replaced. This isn't just about jealousy. It's a deep, primal fear that someone else might now be basking in the warmth, attention, and energy they once took for granted. Let's break this down. When they left, they likely assumed you'd still be there, emotionally waiting. Your loyalty, your affection, it was a constant they didn't need to question. But now, that door they thought was always open suddenly feels closed, and the terrifying thought creeps in. What if someone else has walked through it? Here's why this fear cuts so deep. Psychologists call it loss aversion. The pain of losing something you once had is far greater than the joy of gaining something new. In other words, while they may have been comfortable leaving you behind, the idea of you moving on without them is an entirely different story. It's a loss they can't control, and it eats at them. Picture this. They imagine you sharing laughter, moments, and memories with someone new. Someone who sees your worth, values your presence, and treats you with the respect they never gave. That thought? It's not just unsettling, it's unbearable. It forces them to confront the reality that they may have let go of something irreplaceable. Let me share a real-life example. I once read a confession from someone who said, "I thought she'd always be there, but when I saw her smiling with someone else, I couldn't breathe. She wasn't just moving on, she was happy, and that's when I knew I'd lost her." It's a classic case of loss aversion, and it happens more often than you think. But here's the key. You don't need to manipulate this reaction. You don't need to post carefully curated photos or flaunt a new relationship to make them feel this way. Simply focusing on yourself, emotionally freeing yourself from their grasp and exploring new possibilities sends a louder message than any staged effort ever could. When they sense you're no longer in emotional limbo, that you're genuinely moving forward, the fear of replacement ignites like a lightning bolt. Now you might wonder, why didn't they care about me when they had the chance? The harsh truth is, people often take for granted what feels constant. They assume kindness, loyalty, and love will always be there, until it's not. Your absence forces them to face a brutal reality. Someone else could now be experiencing the love and devotion they once dismissed. And here's the best part. This isn't about them. It's about you becoming the best version of yourself. Not to impress anyone, but because you deserve it. Start building a life that feels fulfilling and purposeful. Learn new skills, take up hobbies you've always wanted to try, and create a world so vibrant and full of joy that their absence feels insignificant. Think about it. The person who undervalued you will see your growth as a beacon they can't ignore. But by the time they realize what they've lost, you'll have moved so far ahead that their regret will be nothing more than an echo in your rearview mirror. So don't chase, don't wait, live boldly. Build a life that's so magnetic and fulfilling that they're left wondering what could have been. And when they come crawling back, remember this, you're not just an option. They lost their chance to have someone extraordinary. Sign 3. When pride falls. The third undeniable sign that no contact is working, their pride begins to crumble. At first, they may convince themselves that walking away was the right choice. Their ego whispers, "They'll miss me, they'll come back first." But as time passes and you remain silent, their confidence starts to falter. And that's when reality sets in. They've lost the power they once held over you. Let's talk about pride for a moment. For many people, pride is a shield, a way to protect themselves from vulnerability. It's what keeps them from admitting they made a mistake or that they miss you. But your silence? It dismantles that shield piece by piece. Without a single word, you send a message louder than any confrontation ever could. I've moved on, and I'm thriving without you. Now, imagine this. They thought they could leave and you'd still be there, emotionally tethered, waiting for their return. But instead of chasing or clinging, you did the opposite. You chose yourself. That decision? It's like pulling the rug out from under their ego. Suddenly, they're no longer the center of your emotional gravity, and that realization hits hard. Here's the psychology behind it. When someone feels like they've lost control of a dynamic, it triggers an identity crisis. They start questioning themselves, their decisions, and even their self-worth. And the longer you stay silent, the louder that internal battle becomes. They may not show it outwardly. They might still post pictures or act unbothered, but behind the scenes, their pride is taking a beating. Let me share a personal example. I once went no contact with someone who seemed indifferent to losing me. At first, they acted like they didn't care. But weeks later, I received a late-night text. "I've been thinking about us. Can we talk?" That wasn't just curiosity, it was their pride giving way to regret. They couldn't stand the idea that I was no longer within their reach. But here's the catch. When they reach out, it's not always about love or reconciliation. Sometimes, it's about their need to reclaim the control they feel they've lost. And this is where your strength comes in. By staying firm, you show them that your worth isn't theirs to define. You're no longer the person who waits for scraps of attention. You're the one who sets the terms. This shift isn't easy for them to accept. Pride is stubborn, and it fights to maintain the illusion of control. But the moment they realize they can't influence your life anymore, that's when their pride falls completely. It's not about missing you, it's about losing their perceived power. So how do you handle this? By staying grounded. Remember, no contact isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about respecting yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't value you. The more you focus on your growth, the less their pride matters. Here's something to reflect on. What do I gain by letting their ego dictate my worth? The answer? Nothing. When you step back and focus on yourself, you reclaim the energy they once drained from you. You become the one in control, not of them, but of your own life. And here's the beauty of it. As their pride falls, yours rises. Not in arrogance, but in confidence. You begin to see yourself not as someone waiting for validation, but as someone who is already whole, already valuable. By the time they realize what they've lost, your pride will be rooted in something far stronger than their regret. It'll be rooted in your own self-worth. So let their pride crumble. Let them wrestle with the silence and the absence. Because in the end, no contact isn't just about their fall. It's about your rise. Sign 4. Memories haunt them. The fourth undeniable sign that no contact is working, their memories of you start to haunt them. When you walk away, you leave behind a silence that amplifies everything they once overlooked. At first, it's easy for them to ignore the void, but as time goes on, the quiet becomes unbearable. That's when the memories come flooding back. Here's the truth about human nature. We're wired to romanticize the past, especially when it feels out of reach. Psychologists call this rosy retrospection, the tendency to remember experiences as better than they actually were. So while you're focused on moving forward, they're stuck replaying the highlights of your time together, and those moments only grow brighter in your absence. Imagine this. They remember the way you laughed at their dumbest jokes, the late-night conversations where you truly listened, the little things you did that made them feel special. These memories, once dismissed as ordinary, now feel extraordinary. Why? Because they can no longer have them. It's like hearing a favorite song you haven't played in years. Suddenly, every lyric, every note hits differently. Here's the psychology behind it. When you go no contact, you remove the ability for them to create new memories with you. That absence forces their mind to cling to what's already there. And because time tends to smooth over the rough edges, they start seeing those memories through a lens of longing. Even the mundane becomes meaningful. What they once took for granted now feels irreplaceable. Let me share a confession I came across on a relationship forum. Someone wrote, "I thought I'd moved on until I remembered the way she used to stay up late just to talk to me. I haven't felt that kind of connection since. It hit me that I'd never valued her the way I should have. This isn't just nostalgia. It's a reckoning with the reality of what they lost. But here's the catch. Nostalgia doesn't care about the bad times. It's a master editor, trimming the arguments, the disappointments, and the flaws, leaving behind only the golden moments. That's why, in your absence, they start to idealize you. They're haunted not just by the memories, but by the feelings those memories evoke. The warmth, the comfort, the sense of belonging. Now you might wonder, if they didn't appreciate me then, why do they care now? The answer is simple. People often don't realize the value of something until it's gone. Your absence forces them to confront the emptiness left behind. It's no longer about what you did for them, it's about how you made them feel. And that feeling, it's not so easy to replace. So how do you use this to your advantage? By staying silent. Don't reach out to remind them of those memories. Let the silence do the work. Focus on creating new memories for yourself. Take this time to build a life that feels full and rewarding, not for them, but for you. Because the more you grow, the more those old memories will pale in comparison to the person you're becoming. Here's something powerful to remember. Their longing isn't your responsibility. Their memories aren't your burden to carry. Your job is to honor your journey, not to dwell on the past. The haunting they feel? That's their process, not yours. And here's the beauty of it. While they're stuck replaying the past, you're busy building your future. By the time they finally reach out, longing to reconnect, you'll have moved so far ahead that the person they're searching for no longer exists. You'll be stronger, brighter, and untouchable. So let the memories haunt them. Let them replay every moment, every word, every smile. Because while they're lost in what was, you're stepping boldly into what will be. Sign 5, the illusion of loss. The fifth undeniable sign that no contact is working? They feel the crushing weight of the illusion of loss. When you go no contact, you create a sense of absence so powerful that it forces them to confront a reality they didn't prepare for. The possibility that you might be gone for good. Even if they were the ones to walk away, this sudden void feels like a loss they can't ignore. Here's the irony. They chose to leave, but they didn't expect to feel the emptiness that followed. At first, they might convince themselves it was the right decision, enjoying a temporary sense of freedom. But as time passes, the stark reality of your absence sets in, and with it comes a wave of emotions they can't escape: regret, longing, and a desperate need to understand what went wrong. Let's break it down. Psychologists call this loss aversion. The pain of losing something you once had is far greater than the pleasure of gaining something new. Your absence taps into this psychological trigger, making them hyper-aware of what they've lost. They may have taken your presence for granted, but now, faced with the possibility that someone else might be experiencing the love and loyalty they discarded, the illusion of loss becomes unbearable. Picture this. Someone misplaces a valuable possession they use daily but never truly appreciated. The moment it's gone, panic sets in. They retrace their steps, consumed by the fear that it's lost forever. Your absence creates the same effect. They begin replaying memories, questioning their decisions, and wondering if they'll ever have the chance to reclaim what they let slip away. Let me share a raw confession from someone who experienced this firsthand. They said, "I thought I'd be fine after breaking up with her, but when I saw her living her best life without me, it felt like my world crumbled. I didn't expect to miss her this much." This is the power of the illusion of loss. It's not just about missing you, it's about missing the life they once shared with you. But here's the truth. Their regret isn't your responsibility. The illusion of loss works in your favor because it forces them to recognize your value on their own terms. You don't have to do anything but focus on yourself. Build a life so fulfilling that their absence feels like a footnote in your story. Every step you take towards your goals, every joy-filled moment you create, reinforces the reality that you were never the one who lost. Now you might wonder, if they feel this loss, does it mean they truly care? The answer isn't simple. They may care, but they also care about their own ego and the comfort your presence once provided. This is why it's crucial to stay strong and resist the urge to reach out. Let the illusion of loss work its magic while you continue to rise. Here's something to think about. What if their absence was exactly what you needed to rediscover yourself? What if walking away wasn't the end, but the beginning of a new chapter where you're the main character, not just a supporting role? By focusing on your growth, you not only reclaim your power, but also show them what they underestimated. And here's the beauty of this process. The illusion of loss isn't about them, it's about you. It's about recognizing that your worth was never tied to their validation. It's about stepping into a life where your happiness isn't dictated by their presence or absence. So let them feel the weight of what they've lost. Let them wrestle with the regret, the doubt, and the longing. Because while they're consumed by the illusion of loss, you're living boldly, unapologetically, and without limits. And by the time they realize your worth, you'll have moved on to something far greater. Yourself. Sign 6. They start mirroring your growth. The sixth undeniable sign that no contact is working? They begin to mirror your growth. At first, they may have expected you to stay stagnant, trapped in the pain of their absence. But when they start to see the undeniable progress you've made, whether through mutual friends, social media, or even word of mouth, they can't help but feel left behind. And that's when the mirroring begins. Let's explore this. When someone realizes you're thriving without them, it triggers an internal response. They might not admit it outright, but they start asking themselves, how can I keep up? It's not just about wanting you back. It's about wanting to feel relevant in your life again. Your growth becomes a silent challenge, and their pride pushes them to rise to meet it. Here's what this mirroring looks like. They might suddenly take up hobbies or interests similar to yours. Maybe you've started traveling, focusing on fitness, or building new friendships. Don't be surprised if you hear through the grapevine that they're doing the same. It's not a coincidence. It's a subconscious reaction to the changes they see in you. They don't want to feel like they've been left behind while you've moved forward. Let me share an example. I once went no contact with someone who seemed completely indifferent at first. But a few months later, I noticed something strange. I'd been sharing my passion for fitness and personal growth, and suddenly they were posting gym selfies and quotes about self-improvement. It wasn't just random. They were mirroring the very changes they'd noticed in me. It was their way of staying connected to the version of me they no longer had access to. Here's the psychology behind it. People naturally gravitate toward what they admire but can't control. Your transformation becomes magnetic, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're authentically growing into your best self. This mirroring isn't about copying, it's about their subconscious desire to remain relevant in your world. Now you might wonder, why should I care if they're trying to mirror my growth? The truth is, you shouldn't. This isn't about them, it's about you. Their reaction is simply proof that your journey is impactful. It's a reminder that your progress is being noticed, even by those who thought they could walk away without a second thought. But here's the catch. Don't let their actions distract you. Their attempt to mirror your growth isn't always a sign of genuine change. Sometimes it's just their ego trying to keep up. That's why it's important to stay focused on your own path. Keep building the life you want, not because you want to inspire regret, but because you deserve it. Here's something powerful to consider. What if their mirroring isn't about them catching up, but about you setting a standard they can't reach? Every step you take, every new milestone you achieve, makes it clearer that you're no longer the person they walked away from. You've outgrown the dynamic they once controlled, and that realization can be both humbling and haunting for them. So let them mirror your growth. Let them try to catch up. But don't slow down for anyone. Keep pushing forward, exploring new possibilities, and becoming the person you've always wanted to be. Because while they're busy trying to emulate your progress, you'll be creating a life that leaves no room for comparison. By the time they realize they can't keep up, you'll have moved so far ahead that their efforts will feel like chasing shadows. And in that moment, you'll understand that your growth wasn't just for them to notice. It was for you to thrive. Sign 7. Their ego seeks closure, but it's not about closure. The seventh and final sign that no contact is working? They reach out under the guise of seeking closure. But here's the truth. It's rarely about closure. More often than not, their ego is at play, desperately trying to regain the control they've lost. Let's unpack this. When someone reaches out saying, "Can we talk?" or "I just need some closure," it might seem like they're seeking resolution. But deep down, it's their way of opening a door they thought would always remain shut. The no contact rule flips the power dynamic in a way they didn't expect, and now they're left scrambling to make sense of why they no longer hold a place in your life. Here's the thing about closure. It's a self-serving concept. They may frame it as needing clarity or wanting to tie up loose ends, but in reality, it's their ego seeking validation. They want to confirm that they still matter to you, that they haven't been replaced, and that they can still affect your emotions. Your silence, however, denies them that comfort, and that's what drives them to reach out. Imagine this. They send you a message, something along the lines of, "I've been thinking about us. I just want to understand what went wrong." On the surface, it sounds genuine, but pay attention to the subtext. What they're really saying is, "I can't stand not knowing if I still have an impact on you." Your absence forces them to confront a harsh truth. They no longer control the narrative. Let me share a real-life example. A friend once went no contact with someone who had treated her poorly. Months later, that person reached out with a heartfelt apology, asking for a final conversation to get closure. She agreed, thinking it was a step toward healing. But instead of resolving things, they used the opportunity to reopen old wounds and manipulate her emotions. It wasn't about closure, it was about control. Here's the psychology behind it. When you go no contact, you create a space where they can no longer rely on your attention or reactions. This lack of access triggers a sense of loss, which their ego interprets as a threat. Reaching out for closure becomes their way of regaining a foothold in your life, even if it's just for a moment. But here's the catch. Closure isn't something they can give you, nor is it something you owe them. True closure comes from within, from accepting the past, learning from it, and moving forward without looking back. Their attempt to seek closure is their problem, not yours. Now you might wonder, should I respond if they reach out? The answer depends on where you are in your journey. If you've truly moved on and feel emotionally neutral, you can choose to respond. But if their presence still stirs unresolved feelings, it's okay to stay silent. Protecting your peace is more important than satisfying their ego. Here's something to reflect on. What if their need for closure is actually their way of admitting they made a mistake? By not giving them the response they're hoping for, you reinforce the boundaries you've set. You remind them that your worth isn't defined by their recognition or approval. And here's the beauty of this process. By the time they come seeking closure, you've likely outgrown the need for it yourself. You've built a life so full and purposeful that their attempts to re-enter feel more like a distraction than an opportunity. You've moved on, not because you wanted to hurt them, but because you chose to heal yourself. So let their ego wrestle with the silence. Let them question what they've lost. Because while they're stuck chasing closure, you're already living in freedom. And that, high-value men, is the ultimate power move. Let's take a moment to reflect on what you've learned today. These 7 signs aren't just proof that the no-contact rule is working. They're a testament to your growth, your strength, and your ability to reclaim your worth. When you step back, it's not about manipulating someone else's feelings. It's about stepping into the person you were always meant to be. Think about it. They see you thriving without them, and it stings. They feel the fear of being replaced and the weight of memories they once dismissed. Their pride crumbles, and the illusion of loss becomes a harsh reality. They start mirroring your growth, desperate to keep up with the person you're becoming. And finally, they seek closure, not because they truly want it, but because their ego can't handle the silence. But here's the truth you need to carry with you. None of this is about them. Their reactions, their realizations, their regrets, those are the byproducts of your decision to choose yourself. The real victory lies in how you've risen from the pain, how you've rebuilt a life that no longer depends on their validation, and how you've proven to yourself that you are enough, exactly as you are. Remember this, no contact isn't just a rule, it's a mindset. It's a declaration that your time, energy, and love are too valuable to be taken for granted. It's about creating a life so full, so vibrant, that their absence feels like a mere footnote in your story. And as you continue to grow, they'll either realize what they've lost, or they'll fade into the background where they belong. So what now? Keep thriving. Keep building a life that reflects the best version of yourself. Surround yourself with people who elevate your energy and push you forward. Explore your passions, chase your dreams, and never settle for anything less than the respect and love you deserve. Let me leave you with this affirmation. My presence is a gift. Say it. Believe it. Write it in the comments below as a declaration of your worth. Because when you truly own this mindset, everything else falls into place. And here's the spoiler ending. By the time they realize what they've lost, you'll be so far ahead that the person they're searching for no longer exists. You'll have evolved into someone stronger, brighter, and untouchable. That, my friends, is the power of no contact. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Stoic Golden Rule. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Stay strong, stay empowered, and always remember, your worth is never up for negotiation. See you in the next one.